Welcome back, dear children. I am Surya Rakwal and I am continuing with the chapter Constitutional Design. And in this video, we are discussing about making of Indian Constitution. Indian Constitution was drawn up under very difficult circumstances. India is a huge and diverse country, and at the time of the independence of India, India also had various ethnic groups, cultures, religions, languages, and difference of opinion among the people. So it was not so easy to accommodate all the diversity, but Indian leaders were able to do so. At that time, the people of India were emerging from the status of subject to that of citizens. You all know that India were the subjects of the British government, and they were under the British rule for long years. When the constitution was being framed, the Indians were coming out of the status of the subjects to the status of the citizens. When the Indian leaders were busy in framing new constitution for India, India has gone through a traumatic experience, the experience of the partition of India. The partition of India was based on the religious differences. During the partition, millions of people lost their shelter, lost their property, and lost their lives. It was a bitter experience at the time. The Indian leaders had to frame a constitution so that this bitterness emerged out of the partition of India, and the violence after that should be accommodated and forgotten. One more problem which the British had left was that they had left it to the rulers of the princely states to decide whether they wanted to merge with India or Pakistan or remain independent. Dear learners, you know that at a time of independence, India has more than 500 princely states, just like Jammu and Kashmir, Junagadh, Hyderabad, etc. And the British government had left it to them to decide whether they want to become Indians, Pakistanis, or they want to remain independent states. The merger of these princely states was a difficult and uncertain task. Dear children, the drafting of document called the Constitution was done by an assembly of elected representatives called the Constituent Assembly. Elections to the Constituent Assembly were held in July 1946. Its first meeting was held in December 1946. The Constituent Assembly that wrote the Indian Constitution had 299 members. The Assembly adopted the Constitution on 26 November 1949, but it came into effect on 26 January 1950. To mark this day, we celebrate 26 January as Republic Day every year. Dear children, why should we accept the Constitution made by this assembly more than 70 years ago? The answer is very simple. Dear children, the Constitution does not reflect the views of its member alone. It expresses a broad consensus of its time. Constituent Assembly represented the people of India. A fair geographical share of member from all the religious community of a country was there in the Constituent Assembly. Learners, the assembly was dominated by Indian National Congress, the party that led Indians' freedom struggle. But the Congress itself included a variety of political groups and opinion. The manner in which the Constituent Assembly worked gives sanctity to the Constitution. The making of Constitution was not so simple. The Constituent Assembly worked in a systematic, open and consensual manner. First, some basic principles were decided and agreed upon. Then a drafting committee chaired by Dr. Bhim Rao Ambedkar prepared a draft constitution for discussion. Several rounds of thorough discussion took place on the draft constitution, clause by clause. More than 2,000 amendments were considered. The members deliberated for 114 days spread over 3 years. Every document presented and every word spoken in the Constituent Assembly has been recorded and preserved. These are called Constituent Assembly debates. When printed, these debates are 12 bulky volumes. These debates provide the rationale behind every provision of the Constitution. These are used to interpret the meaning of the Constitution. After the hard work of day and night spread over 3 years, the members of the Constituent Assembly finally declared the Constitution of India and adopted it on November 1949. The preamble of the Constitution of India speaks like, "We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic, and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship, equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of individual and the unity and integrity of the nation." In our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact, and give to ourselves this Constitution. Dear learner, a Constitution is not merely a statement of values and philosophy. A Constitution is merely about embodying these values into institutional arrangement. Much of the document called Constitution of India is about these arrangements. It's a very long and detailed document. Therefore, it needs to be amended quite regularly to keep it updated. Dear children, the Constitution of India is not a dead document. It is a living document. And you all know that we need to change, we need to update. So that's why our constitutional designers have kept the provisions so that the document can be, the Constitution can be amended time to time. Those who crafted the Constitution felt that it has to be in accordance with the people's aspirations and changes in the society. They did not see it as a sacred, static, and unalterable laws. Learners, the Constitution of India is not rigid, it is flexible. But there are certain provisions to make an amendment, change, or add new provisions in the Constitution. That is, that we need to have two-third majority votes for such provisions, which we will be discussing in the working of institution chapter. Children, these changes are called as the constitutional amendments.